Dear students, hope you all are fine. Today in this video we will discuss about the concept of economic development and the differences between economic development and economic growth. So, we will first begin with the concept of economic development. In present times, there are broadly two main approaches to the concept of economic development. There is the traditional approach of economic development and the new welfare oriented approach of economic development. First, we will discuss about the traditional approach of economic development. According to the exponents of traditional approach, economic development implies a sustained annual increase in the gross national product at rates varying from 5 to 7% or more, together with such changes in the structure of production and employment that the share of agriculture declines in both, whereas those of the manufacturing and tertiary sectors increase. The policy measures thus suggested are the ones which induce industrialization at the expense of agricultural development. Objectives of poverty elimination, reduction in economic inequalities and employment generation are mentioned in passing reference only, and in most cases it is assumed that rapid gains in overall growth in GNP, that is gross national product, or per capita national product would trickle down to people in one form or the other. Now, we will discuss about the new welfare oriented approach of economic development. In the early 1970s, having realized that about 40% of the developing world's population had not benefited at all from the rise in gross national product per capita and structural changes in the economy during the 1950s and 1960s, a large number of economists called for the rejection of the narrow definition of economic development. During the 1970s, they redefined the concept of economic development in terms of the reduction or elimination of poverty, inequality and unemployment within the context of a growing economy. The concept of development based on poverty, equality and employment criteria is definitely superior to the traditional view of development, but it again attempts to see development as an economic phenomenon. Some economists refuse to draw a line between economic development and non-economic development. In their opinion, the phenomenon of development or lack of it is not merely a question of economics or the quantitative measurement of incomes, employment and equality. Underdevelopment is to be seen as a state of mind as much as a state of national destitution. Economic development is thus a process involving noble ideals, and the third world countries without exception are striving hard to make it successful. Now, we will discuss the distinction between economic growth and economic development. In general, the terms economic growth and economic development are synonymous. So, it is difficult to make distinction between these two terms, but some economists like Madison, Mrs. U.K. Hicks, Bohn, Schumpeter, Kindleberger, etc. have attempted to make distinction between these two terms. According to Professor Madison, the rising of income level is generally called economic growth in rich countries, and in poor ones it is called economic development, whereas Mrs. Hicks said that economic development deals with the problem of underdeveloped countries, whereas economic growth deals with the problem of developed countries. Professor Bone explains, economic development requires some sort of direction, regulation and guidance to generate the forces of expansion and maintain them. This is true of most of the underdeveloped countries, whereas the economic growth is of spontaneous nature, which characterizes the developed countries. C.P. Kindleberger has distinguished economic growth and economic development in a different way. He said, economic growth means more output and economic development implies both more output and changes in technical and institutional arrangements. Friedman defines growth as an expansion of the system in one or more dimensions without a change in its structure, and development as an innovative process leading to the structural transformation of social system. We can also explain the difference between economic growth and economic development with the help of production possibility curves. We have explained that by using a diagram where we have shown the production possibility curves. So, here we can see the diagram, and in the diagram we have shown good x in OX axis and good y in OY axis. A, B, C, D and E, F are the three production possibility curves. So, we can see from the diagram that with the rightward shift in the production possibility curve, the equilibrium points also shift rightward. If the successive equilibrium points lie on the line drawn from the origin, like Q, Q1 and Q2, then this progress will be known as economic growth. On the other hand, if the successive equilibrium points does not lie on the line drawn from the origin like Q, and from Q it will move to R and then again it will move to Q2, then that is not then this progress will be known as economic development. Or we can say if the equilibrium points move from Q to S and then to T, then also it will be known as economic development, which will include economic growth along with structural transformation. I have given the explanation for the diagram in this slide. Then from this analysis, it is clear that economic growth and economic development have certain distinctions. So, from that now we will sort out the main differences between economic growth and economic development. So, from the discussion it is clear to us that economic growth is related with developed countries and economic development is related with developing countries. Economic growth is related to a quantitative sustained increase in the country's per capita income, while economic development is related not only with quantitative increase in per capita income, but also with qualitative change in economic wants, economic goods and institutions. So, these are the main differences between economic growth and economic development. I hope the concept of economic development and the differences between economic growth and economic development are clear to you all. In case of any query, any question or any doubt, you can call me in my number. Thank you everyone for watching this video. Thank you very much.